Your bed is 3 steps from your neighbor's fire, and tonight their argument is loud enough to warm your face. And yet everyone stares at the flames and pretends the night is quiet. We're told ancient humans had no privacy, no doors, no locks, no secrets. But privacy isn't a wall, it's an agreement about where attention is allowed to go. Start with a circle of grass huts in southern Africa. The Jew/hoansi set their camp like a clock, hearths forming a ring, pathways threading the sand. A traveler doesn't stride in. He stops on the outer edge, he calls out softly. He waits to be invited. That pause is a door. Richard Lee, who lived with the Jew/hoansi, wrote about this choreography of approach, the way a boundary can be drawn without offense, how a voice can knock. A camp is open to the air, but not to intrusion. Admission is social, not architectural. Privacy begins there, in choreography, in the decision to hover at the threshold of someone else's time. We think of privacy as space you own. Hunter-gatherers often think in time you're owed, a morning quiet that isn't to be broken, a rhythm you don't interrupt. Even in egalitarian camps where food, tools, gossip flow freely, people carry invisibility cloaks made from etiquette. Not keep out, more like look away now. There's an older technology than the lock, the averted gaze. In tiny communities, your eyes do the construction work your hands can. You pass close enough to smell the stew, and you don't comment on it. You hear tears in the next hut and tie your sandal very slowly. Everyone knows, and the rule says no one knows. Some societies formalize this. In Aboriginal Australia, certain relatives were bound by strict avoidance. The classic example is the mother-in-law and son-in-law. Don't speak directly, don't sit together, often don't look each other in the eye. Among speakers of Dyirbal in Queensland, the rule went further. If that taboo relative is present, you switch your entire vocabulary. Everyday words are replaced by a parallel avoidance register. Different lexicon, same meanings. Language itself becomes a privacy screen. Sound moves through it. Meaning is deflected. You can sit in the same camp and hear talk without having it count as talk, privacy by grammar. That's wild. But it works because privacy at root is not concealment, it's control. Control over who can claim a piece of your attention, your body, your day. In small worlds built on constant contact, control looks Winter like on the sea distance. Ice makes that even more obvious. Picture an Inuit snow house, one room under a white dome, a low tunnel for an entry, a sleeping platform of packed snow dressed with skins. Families live inches apart in a place where wind and silence reach into the bone. Walls don't trap sound. The barrier is manners. Visitors announce themselves and wait in the crawl tunnel until the host responds. Inside, people know how to turn their faces to the wall while someone dresses or nurses a child. It's not that others can see, it's that seeing doesn't entitle you to speak. Asen Balikci's accounts of Netsilik life read like blueprints of unwritten curtains, gestures that tell you when to be present and when to thin yourself out. Once you notice it, you see the pattern everywhere. Privacy is attention management made social. But then there's property, surely the surest fortress. Except in many immediate return forager societies, property is porous. Mat is shared, tools are lent, and a good campmate is one who doesn't hoard. And yet the Hadza of Tanzania show another kind of line. The arrow rule. If you kill an animal with someone else's arrow, distribution rights follow the arrow's owner. That owner decides how meat is allocated. This isn't seclusion, it's a bright thread of authority running through a very open scene. A way of saying, this decision is mine, in a place where almost nothing is mine for long. You can't padlock a carcass, but you can ring fence a choice. That too is privacy. Agency ringed by consent. The oldest houses we've dug out of the earth echo the same compromise. Walk across the Neolithic, tell of Çatalhöyük, and you won't find streets. Just a honeycomb of mud brick rooms abutting room after room entered by climbing down a ladder through a hole in the roof. Shared walls, no alleys, no doors facing a public square. Privacy wasn't in the city plan, it was inside the cell. Sleeping platforms, hearths, bins. The household, not the individual, became the unit with boundaries. You could live a life inches from your neighbors and still draw a bright line. What happens under this roof belongs to us. Ian Hodder's excavations showed how those interior spaces were ritually charged. People buried their dead under floors, replastered walls, curated memory into the house. Privacy here isn't about hiding from sight, it's about enclosing meaning. So, did ancient humans have privacy? Not the way we imagine it in a studio apartment with a lock code and noise canceling headphones, but look closer. They had the building blocks of our need 100 small rules teaching people how to stay out of each other's minds, even when they couldn't stay out of each other's way. And it wasn't just rule, it was rhythm. The day had privacy slots. Dawn for solitary walking to check traps, midday for communal repair, late night for a hushed talk around a particular fire. If you step into a camp at the wrong tempo, you feel it. The moment your presence is out of season. We feel the same thing when a phone call arrives during the 1 hour we keep for ourselves. The resentment isn't about the sound. It's about the trespass on a time boundary we thought others would read. The flip side is that privacy was purchased with exposure. Everyone sees you when you stumble. Everyone hears your baby when she cries. The price of a warm circle is that every mistake is public. So humans learned a second skill, selective amnesia. After a tense quarrel carries across the huts, tomorrow's hunting talk starts like nothing cracked last night. Not because memory is short, because mercy is a social technology. It keeps private what the wind already spread. That mercy shows up in how you enter too. In many small-scale societies, you don't just appear in a doorway. You pause. You make a little noise from a distance. You let people fold up loose edges of themselves. In our world, it looks like texting here before ringing any apartment buzzer or the elevator habit of staring at the door, a ritual of non-looking that makes 5 strangers feel alone enough to breathe. We think we invented it. We didn't. We inherited it. When society settled, privacy thickened into timber and plaster. But the old rules didn't disappear. They nested inside. Walls amplify etiquette. They don't replace it. You can live in a mansion and still have no privacy if the culture refuses to let attention be yours to steer. You can live in a tent and feel an exquisite privacy because the people around you know how to aim their eyes at the horizon when your heart is falling apart. What about secrets? The deep kind. The sacred you only reveal to a few. Many traditional cultures guarded ritual knowledge behind initiations, gender ceremonies, and story permissions. Who gets to tell which myth? Who gets to touch which object? Who gets to hear a name? Privacy as a gateway, not a box. It's not about a person disappearing. It's about a map of meanings that not everyone can traverse. An entire cosmology arranged like rooms you enter over years. The surprise is that privacy, which we experience as solitude, is maintained by other people's discipline. You can't have it alone. You need neighbors who pretend not to notice, kin who follow a taboo, visitors who wait in a tunnel, hunters who accept that a kill obeys an invisible owner. The most personal space you inhabit exists because everyone else agrees to hold a line they could cross in one step. It's collective self-restraint producing individual freedom. So when you lie awake in a little modern box, wanting to feel less watched, remember that the first privacy wasn't a lock. It was a habit. A dozen gestures, repeated until they became a moral reflex. We still know them. We wave without entering. We put on headphones not just to block sound, but to signal, I'm away now. We use scene receipts as doors, sometimes rude to barge through, sometimes generous to ignore. Our devices build new rooms. Our behavior supplies the key. And our brains still ache when the contract fails. That anxiety in an open plan office, that exhaustion of being reachable at every minute. Part of you is a campfire animal expecting an agreed choreography of approach. When the approach becomes constant, privacy collapses even if you're alone at a desk. In that sense, the problem of now isn't that we lost privacy. It's that we build tools that treat attention like a commons and forgot the old etiquette that guards it. Ancient humans didn't solve privacy once and for all. They practiced it. You can feel the practice if you step back from your screens and listen for it. The pause before you enter. The gaze you can choose to spare. The hour you can lend to silence. None of that requires a door. Maybe the first architecture we built was in the mind. Threshold that trained our eyes and tongues Bricks came later, and even now, when stone and glass are everywhere, the doorway that matters is still the tiny one between noticing and leaving be. Because the oldest room on earth isn't a cave or a hut, it's the circle of people who agree, even for 1 minute, to look away so you can be yourself.